Similar figures, proportions, levels 1, 2, and 3. Set up and solve a proportion. Use the properties of equality. Do not skip steps. Box final answer. All right, so our first question, I'm going to probably take this through just a little bit slower than normal, but once you have kind of the foundation for this, the rest of them are pretty easy. All they usually do at some point is they move the figures around and twist it and shape them, and so then it's just your responsibility to make sure that you can identify corresponding parts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to copy the triangles twice. You do not have to do this for your homework. The purpose in showing you is just to use a color coding system to show you that there's a lot of flexibility in how you set up your proportions. So first thing I do want to point out is it says that triangle EFG is similar to triangle HIJ. So the order in which these are listed here, they're corresponding. So notice how E was first. E corresponds with H because H came first. Then F, because it's second, literally corresponds with I, and G corresponds with J. So keep this in order. So over here, when it says find the measure of HI, they literally are saying these two start with H, move to I. So I could come over here and say, well, I'm going to start with E and go to F. Literally. Okay, let's go ahead and set up our proportions since it seems like those are real popular. Let's switch over to green. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use these two numbers to set up my proportion. So I can do 25 over 44, or I can do 44 over 25. Do it whichever way you want. I'm doing 25 over 44. And the only thing I do want to point is that if I start with 25 in the numerator, you're going to want to go in this direction, which means that when I come over to this side, this is going to be X. This is my unknown because HI is, well, that's answering the question, that when I use these two as my second proportion, if I put 25 on top, then I need to put X on top as well. So 25 over 44 is equal to X over 9. So the green shows one way we could do it. Now I'm going to switch over to blue, and instead of doing these two sides, I'm actually going to go ahead and mark this as X, and I'm going to do these as my first fraction. I'm going to put 25 on top, so notice I'm going from 25 over here to X, and I just chose to do it that way just to show you that I still have 25 in the same spot, but notice that instead of 44, I went from 25 to X, which means that when I go ahead and I set up my next ratio or fraction, that if I start with 25, I have to start with 44 and go to 9. So that means that 25 over X should be equivalent to 44 over 9. Now, I don't want to say this is magical, but this is kind of what puts it together. Notice we're going to use cross products. In other words, 44 times X to get 44X. 25 times 9, that's going to give us 225. And then I'll divide by 44 on each side to isolate X. So I find out that X is equal to 5.11. And I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to get any more decimal places, but I will let you know I believe this continues on. Now, the reason I only have 2 decimal places, it said round to the nearest tenth. So I only need the tenths place and then 1 place to the right, the hundredths. Okay, let's go back. Let me switch over to blue. And notice that when we do X times 44, well, it's pretty much setting up the same thing, which is 44X, and then 25 times 9 is 225. And then obviously the same steps are repeated. So again, as long as you're consistent on how you set up your proportion, it's almost hard to mess this up. So 5.11 and then again dot, 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 it's going to continue. So to answer the question, it is, I'm going to go ahead and circle the tenths, And I'm going to look to the right. That means we round down. So my final answer is going to be, now I just want to clarify, this is approximately equal to, this is going to be a rounded value. That's going to be 5.1. And that's what I'm going to put in. And let's see if we got that. 5.1. Cool. And if I scroll down, he's probably going to show the different ratios. So method 1, he says equate ratios of corresponding sides. Whatever. It looks like he labels it big and small, however you want. Anyways, if what I said made sense, again, you're pretty much set up. Let me know if you need any help.